We now have the Italy team for the Six Nations. That means we've got all 6 teams. It's locked, the players that are going to be involved in the round 4 matchups. And let's be honest, we can pass a few more minutes in this week, which is moving incredibly slowly. Such is the excitement for round 4 to get here. It will be here, and when it is, I'll be here on the channel bringing you all sorts of stuff across the Six Nations weekend. So hit subscribe if you haven't already. But most importantly, give me your thoughts down below. What do you make of the Italian team? Which, I don't know about you, it gives me the sense that Italy are, what my first thought when I saw this 23-man squad was, are Italy going for the jugular? Are Italy rolling the dice and going on the attack? And the most eye-catching selection that made me think that was Ange Capuozzo at 15, where Tommaso Allan has been for the previous few games. Monty Ioane being back and available is a big part of that. He's into the back 3. But Matt Gallagher is selected on the other wing, with Ange Capuozzo being at fullback. What is the thinking there? And Matt Gallagher isn't the only player who is outside the 23, straight into the starting lineup. You've also got, where that's concerned, Stephen Varney at scrum half. Ross Vincent goes from the bench to the starting lineup. You've got Riccioni from the bench to the starting lineup. What is the thinking with these selections? As I say, my first instinct was, oh, they're going for the attack. It seems when you go Tommaso Allan onto the bench and Ange Capuozzo starting at 15, that feels like a kind of positive attacking selection. And I'm sure Italy would have watched England play against Scotland, and they saw how much joy Scotland got from just a couple of quick passes to the edge. And there's space, well, there was space for guys like Duhan van der Merwe and Blair Kinghorn, with England defence being quite narrow. And I'm sure Italy will look to expose that with Monty Ioane and Ange Capuozzo in the back 3. But I wonder if there's something else going on. And maybe this is 2 + 2 = 5. But when all those changes to the Italian starting 15 that I mentioned, a little bit of an English flavour to them. And I mean that purely in the sense of all of those players have a connection to England or English rugby in some way. Look at it, Matt Gallagher, born and raised in England, obviously to a New Zealand father. He would have been eligible for New Zealand and for Ireland. He's playing for his adopted country, Italy, and he's playing against England in England. What an amazing moment for him and his family. Same goes Stephen Varney, Welsh, obviously the long-time rivalry, and he spent a lot of time playing at Gloucester in the English Premiership. He's got that connection. You look at Ross Vincent. I mean, Lorenzo Canoni has been Italy's best player, you would argue, and one of the best players in the Championship so far, and he's on the bench. Ross Vincent starts, plays for Exeter Chiefs, and Simone Ferrari has been outstanding at tight head prop for Italy as well. And Marco Riccioni starts, Riccioni playing for Saracens. Is that coincidence, or is there something in that? Maybe Gonzalo Quesada's trying to harness some of that extra couple of percent. And the margin at the very top level, the margins are so small, but when you have that extra tiny bit of motivation, could it take you to a place that these players haven't been before emotionally? And what could that bring for Italy? Maybe I'm just seeing that and seeing a pattern that might be there, but isn't necessarily, it's just coincidence. It's not the reason that Gonzalo Quesada has done that. But I'd be really interested to know if you think there's anything in that. The alternative way of thinking is, if I were, I'm trying to get inside Quesada's head, if you look at England, well, firstly on the selection in the back 3 of Matt Gallagher, because the interesting thing there is that Monty Ioane is playing with a 14 on his back, which I don't think I've ever seen. I'm sure he has played there at times. It's not quite as drastic a change as, say, a loose head prop playing at tight head prop. But Monty Ioane, I don't know about you, I've only ever really seen him with a number 11 on his back. And why then is he playing with a 14 on his back? I think Matt Gallagher is there to maybe neutralise Tommy Freeman as an aerial threat, where he did very well. And they're just trying to create that matchup. Equally, I mean, you see the French wingers will pop up on each other's wing. Maybe Monty Ioane will pop up on the left a little bit. And in any case, the back 3 and even the fly halves these days spend a lot of time sat in the backfield. I'm sure Garbisi will be there, Ioane and Gallagher will be there with Capuozzo. Such is the amount and the way that England kick. But I wonder if Matt Gallagher is there to kind of neutralise that aerial threat, particularly of Tommy Freeman. It's going to be an interesting one to watch. But the other thing, as I try and get inside Gonzalo Quesada's mind, I'd be interested to know what you think about this as well, is England, the way that they play means that they're always in the game. They have not been beaten by, well, they hardly ever get beaten by more than a score. Quite often it's down to a few points, even when they lose. Same goes for when they win, though. When they win, it's, except when they're playing, say, Japan, they don't win by much. So maybe Italy might be thinking, we've got a good chance of being in the game as we get into the final quarter of the match. And if that were the case, would it be better to have your best players on the field to finish the match? If there's a clutch kick that's needed, having Tommaso Allen on the field. If there's an important scrum where you want to try and win a penalty, Simone Ferrari, who's been excellent, on the field up against Hayes and Baxter, who'll be off the England bench. Or if you need some big bodies to make some dents and create some carries, Lorenzo Canoni and Giuliani, both beasts for Italy. So maybe that's what Quesada's thinking. Stay in the game, hang in there, and then they've got a chance in the final 20. And rather than the bench for Italy being a weakness, it could end up being a strength. I think I've thrown a load of ideas at the wall there. Some of them might have some truth in them. Maybe all of them a little bit. Might be a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. But please let me know in the comments down below. Let's just remind ourselves of that England team then. And the big news was Marcus Smith is on the bench. Started the competition at 10, then moved to 15 for 2 games. Now he's on the bench. Where he comes on at 15 or 10 is going to be quite revealing about what Steve Borthwick thinks of the potential for Marcus Smith to still be a 15, or whether he is now the backup fly half. That is quite interesting. Other than that, pretty much as you were, with Elliot Daly being the guy that gets the job at 15. All of the pack, the all back row were getting some rehabilitation over the last fortnight, but they're all fit to play. And yeah, that's it. The only other changes on the bench, Jack Van Poortvliet coming in, which feels like a better fit for the way that Steve Borthwick's England team have been playing. But I would have thought that Italy and Wales might have been the game where the purpose of having Harry Randall in the squad might have been the games when you saw the best of Harry Randall. So I guess Marcus Smith and Harry Randall might feel hard done by there. And of course, I can't talk about the England team without mentioning Jamie George, who's in to start, switching places with Luke Cowan-Dickie. So he will be running out to start on his 100th appearance. A phenomenal achievement. As for a combined 23-man squad, if you had all 23 Italians and all 23 of these Englishmen, who would you pick in a combined side? I have looked at it, and it's quite a stark difference, isn't it? I've gone for all 8 English forwards, partly because Lorenzo Canoni is not in the starting lineup. And another one who would have been pushing Will Stewart for a starting job at tight head, Simone Ferrari, is not in the starting lineup. So I've gone for all 8 English forwards. Your thoughts? I mean, Danilo Fischetti is excellent. Federico Ruzza is great. But I wouldn't put them over their English counterpart. And as good as Lamaro and Negri are, Curry and Earl, I've got ahead of them just now. As for the back line, very different picture altogether. Alex Mitchell over Stephen Varney at scrum half. And Tommy Freeman over, well, I've actually nudged Monty Ioane onto the other wing. So it's Tommy Freeman over Matt Gallagher. But 5 Italians in the back line. Ollie Lawrence, I considered putting him in at 13. But the reason I've gone for Juan Ignacio Brex, who is just an excellent player anyway, but you get them as a pair. Brex and Cello as a pair. The cohesion and that combination is tried and tested, and it's like 2 halves of one whole. They just complement each other brilliantly. They're like a rugby buddy cop duo, the young gun and the old stager, and I couldn't look past them both. Finn Smith looks like he has a ceiling that could be above Paolo Garbisi's, but right now, today, I would pick Paolo Garbisi. But Finn Smith, he was close as well. And the bench, 3 Italians. Those 3 guys I mentioned that I would have expected to have been in the starting lineup, but are all on the bench. So I think that sort of paints a picture, doesn't it? And going back to where I started, that are Italy going on the attack, when you look at their back line, I think they want the ball in those wider channels. They want Menicello and Brex and Capozzo and Ioane with that space that England's defence quite often leaves in those wide channels. And I think they're going to want to go wide early in the same way that Scotland did. Will they have the sufficient and the quality of ball to be able to do that? Tom Curry, Ben Earl, Maro Itoje are going to be trying to deny them that opportunity. That is where the game will be won and lost, I feel. And I do feel that the power that England have in their starting lineup, well, I think England need to establish a lead. And if they do, I think they'll press on. If Italy keep it tight, I think England and the crowd will start to get nervous. And then guys like Canoni and Ferrari could have an impact coming off the bench. I think England by 15. And that is what England should be looking for. But Italy are a good team. Yes, they got absolutely spanked by France, but they are a very, very good team and they will want a reaction. Let me know what you think and I will see you on the next one.